Okay, so let's talk about Delhi. Right now, the city is going through this huge policy shift. We're talking about a plan to solve a housing puzzle that's been tangling up millions of people for, well, decades. And look, this isn't just about bricks and mortar. It's about changing lives and honestly unlocking the entire future of the city.
Let's just start with one number to get a sense of scale. 45 lakh. That's 4.5 million people. And get this, that's just the number of folks living in what are called Delhi's unauthorized colonies. So yeah, this is not some small niche issue. It's a massive citywide challenge. And now, in 2026, it's finally being tackled head on.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get into Delhi's housing puzzle. What are these three different tiers of informal settlements anyway? Then, we'll dive into this breakthrough where is policy that's cutting through all the red tape. We're also going to look at a new idea, rebuilding slums without actually moving people out. And to wrap it all up, we'll ask the big question. What does all of this mean for Delhi's future?
Okay, so to really get why these new policies are such a game changer, you've got to understand the situation on the ground first. Here's the thing. Not all informal housing in Delhi is the same, not by a long shot. There are actually three very different categories, and each one has its own story, its own set of problems.
All right, so this table lays it all out pretty clearly. You've got your JJ clusters. Think of these as slums. And for them, the big idea is in-situ rehabilitation. We'll get to what that means. Then you have the massive unauthorized colonies. Remember that 4.5 million number? That's them. The fix there is as-is regularization. And finally, you've got older resettlement colonies that need a whole different kind of urban renewal. For today, we're really going to zoom in on the first two, because that's where the most dramatic changes are happening right now.
All right, let's jump into the biggest piece of this puzzle, the people living in those unauthorized colonies. A new policy just dropped in 2026, and it's basically designed to take a chainsaw to decades of red tape that's left millions of people stuck in this awful legal limbo.
So you might be asking, what was the holdup? Why were millions of people stuck for so long? Well, it all came down to this one single massive roadblock. An old rule said that local community groups had to create and submit these super complex layout plans for the entire colony. Just imagine the nightmare of trying to get that done. Getting those plans approved. I mean, it could take decades. Or, more often than not, it just never happened at all.
And then, on April 7th, 2026, everything changed. A landmark decision was made that just scraps that whole requirement. The new policy is beautifully simple. As is, where is. What does that mean? It means the government is going to regularize these colonies exactly as they are right now. No more waiting for those impossible-to-get layout plans.
So what does this look like in practice? Well, we're talking about over 1,500 colonies. Overnight, all the plots and buildings there are legally considered residential. I mean, that is a huge deal, both legally and financially. It's also a lifeline for small businesses, the little corner shops. If they're under 20 square meters, they get regularized too. It's just a really practical solution that suddenly brings a massive part of the city's economy out of the gray market and into the light.
Okay, but wait. Getting your property regularized, getting that piece of paper that says you're the owner, that's really only half the battle, right? The next big question is, great, I own it. Now, how do I get permission to legally build something or even just fix up my own house?
Well, now it's a pretty straightforward two-step process. Step 1, you secure your ownership rights. This happens through something called the PMUDA scheme, which is the government program handing out these property rights. Step 2, once you have that legal document in your hand, you can hop onto a brand new online portal called Swagamayam and apply for your building permit. Simple as that.
And listen, this isn't some future promise thing. The Swagam portal goes live today, April 24th, 2026. It's the final piece of the puzzle, the bridge that turns a piece of paper that says you own this into a permit that says you can build on this. And the demand for this is already off the charts. By the end of March this year, about 40,000 of these ownership documents had already been issued. Just think about that. That's 40,000 families who have been waiting, ready to go, ready to use this new portal to finally invest in their own homes and build a better future. Okay, so let's switch gears a little. Remember that second category we talked about, the JJ clusters, or what we typically call slums? For these communities, the government is working with a really powerful guiding principle. It's called Jahan Jogi Wahan Makan, which literally means a house where the slum is. And this philosophy gets put into action with a policy called In-Situ rehabilitation. The idea is actually pretty simple, but it's also profound. It means instead of trucking people out to some resettlement colony on the edge of the city, you redevelop their homes right there, on the same spot where they already live.
And this is such a critical human-first way of thinking. The old way, relocation, it would just displace families, completely cut them off from their jobs, and shatter entire communities. But this new in-situ approach does the exact opposite. It preserves livelihoods, it keeps those really important community bonds strong. It's about upgrading lives, not uprooting them. That's the key. And look, this isn't just a nice idea on paper. It is happening. The Delhi Development Authority, the DDA, is already running some major projects. You've got over 3,000 new houses finished in Kalkaji Extension. Another 1,600 plus are almost ready to be handed over in Jallarwala Bagh. And then there's the famous Kathpuli colony. It's being redeveloped as a huge flagship project that's even going to have a special hub for all the local artisans there.
So let's zoom out for a second. When you put all of this together, the as-is policy, this new Swagam portal, the In-Situ rebuilding of slums, what does it all actually mean for the future of a city like Delhi?
What it is, really, is a fundamental shift in thinking. It's a move away from just endless paperwork and bureaucratic nightmares, and a move towards practical solutions that put people first. The real goal here is to give millions of citizens dignity, security, and a solid legal ground to stand on so they can build their own better future. And that really leaves us with one big final question, right? We've seen the plan, we understand the logic, and we're seeing the first steps happen right now. But can these incredibly ambitious policies actually reshape the future of one of the world's biggest and most complicated megacities? I guess only time will tell.